I'm just going to quickly, we're running just a bit behind. We need to catch up, and I needed to take just a minute right now, and then I'm going to be leaving. So I'm not going to be here clear to the end. Mary Ann is going to finish up, and I have to do this now because I'm going to miss my plane. My husband and I are leaving in just a few minutes because we have a granddaughter whose missionary farewell is in the morning, and we have to get out of here and head to that missionary farewell. We're excited. She's going to Australia, and we're not going to miss it. So as much as I hate to leave before this is over, and I've certainly never done that before, I'm sorry. I'm just like Chris Stewart. There's just some things you have to go for, and so I will be leaving in just a minute. And so Elisa will speak in just a minute when I'm finished. I'm just going to quickly talk about something. I don't have to spend a lot of time on it, though I could spend 2 hours on it, because I know that you already feel this way. I don't have to convince you. I just have to give you some information that you go out and talk about this. And it's talking about in the schools of having girls and boys share bathrooms together and showers together. Seems outrageous. It's happening. It's happening all over this nation. There are states that have passed laws requiring this to happen. They're calling it transgender students. And whoever that child thinks they are, if a girl thinks they're a boy or a boy thinks they're a girl, they think they should be able to shower and use the bathroom of the gender, as they call it, we call it sex, that they identify with. Which means if a boy identifies as a girl, he says he's a girl, even though he has all those boy body parts, then he goes in and showers with the girls or uses the girls' bathroom. It's very serious, and it's happening. There's so many horror stories, and in some states it's just become common. It's become so common in some states that everybody's just starting to accept it now. I hope in our whole life we never get to the point that we'll just accept that. Do we want this to happen in Utah? Of course we don't. But why don't we have a law that says they can't do it? Everybody just assumes that the school would never allow girls and boys to shower together. In fact, you would assume it's illegal. It'd be illegal in your home, wouldn't it? If your daughter had a party and invited girls and boys over, and then they just all decided to stay and take showers and use the same bathroom together and all those kinds, you know what would happen? You know what would happen if there was a party and you let them shower together? The police would arrive. They would arrest the parents in that home. They would take their children down and have DCFS take them, and I doubt they'd ever get them back. And they would have all kinds of legal problems. So they can just wait till Monday and then go to school and do it. And that is exactly what's happening. How in the world do they draw the line? In fact, I assume that will happen before long is that they'll just not bother to have any girls' bathrooms and boys' bathrooms and girls' locker rooms and boys' locker rooms. We'll just have them all together for whatever purpose, because how are you going to keep understanding, who should or shouldn't be in that bathroom when all the boy has to say is, well, I identify as a girl today? Because it's based on that. It doesn't have to be, I identify for the rest of my life. There's multiple stories out there about young people who go back and forth. And nobody knows whether the guy's going to show up with a dress on or he's going to be a boy that day. And there's one story that I share about a boy who does that back, and he has a girlfriend. And some days she's his girlfriend, girlfriend, a real girlfriend. Some days she's just his best friend. And it sounds ridiculous, but it's the way it is. The thing that's frustrating to me is I know that because this is happening all over, and you remember that just this last year, Obama actually sent out a directive to all the schools saying if you want federal funds, you have to allow transgender students, those who identify as being the opposite sex, to use the bathrooms and showers of their choice. And he even put in there, and you cannot provide a private bathroom for them. You can't tell them, well, here's a private bathroom. You go into that bathroom. You don't have to go in with, if you think you're a girl, you don't have to go in the boys' bathroom, even though you have those boys' body parts. But you do have to go use this private bathroom because you can't go in with the girls. Right in that mandate, he says you can't do that. You cannot deny them the bathroom that they want to pick. Well, right now that has been set aside by a federal judge, just for now. So if you think it's not coming, you're wrong. And my frustration is that last year, we tried to get a bill passed last year that here in Utah that just said girls and boys can't use the same bathroom. We could not get Senate leadership to even give it the time of day. Couldn't even get the bill drafted because they thought it was so ridiculous. So we have the same bill again this year. And once again, we are struggling to even get a sponsor for that bill because leadership doesn't want to deal with it. What do they say? Well, do you know, they always ask me, well, where is it happening in Utah now, Gayle? Give me the names of the schools where they're already doing it. Well, I have to tell you that there was 14 requests for that in the Alpine School District. And one school even started letting them do it before the parents really yelled and screamed. And that was an Alpine School District in Utah County. Jackie Biskupski, as mayor of Salt Lake, has already promised the transgender students in Salt Lake that she'll see that they can go to into the bathroom of their choice and into the shower room of their choice. So if we don't think it's coming, then we're ignoring things. But why do we want to wait until it's happening? Why do we want to wait until our children have been violated before we pass that law? What happens to the young girl that's in the shower room and the guy walks in all his body parts? And now, how does she ever get that out of her mind? How embarrassed is she? How humiliated is she? How does she feel when she goes back to school the next day when everybody knows, because there were probably several other girls that go through that, or the other way around, the boys that are in there showering and in walks the girl? What's going through their mind? What do these young boys think that they're, a lot of you in here are LDS, and now these LDS boys, as soon as they graduated, 18 years old, are going on missions. How do they do that? How do they get that out of their mind, especially when you get to the point that it's happening every day? And yet their thoughts are pure. We're so worried about pornography. We better be worried about pornography. We better do everything we can to stop pornography. But is it not pornography for the boys to be in there showering and have this cute girl walk in? Or vice versa? It's going to take all of you to stop this. This is one issue you shouldn't ignore. If you don't want to live in that environment, if you don't want your grandchildren and your children to be violated in this way, I think about some of my grandchildren and how, I'm thinking about one granddaughter who I just can't even imagine that she would ever get, if that happened to her, she'd be in the fetal position over in the corner and probably stay there the rest of her life. This is tragic. The bill that we've tried to get passed, the one from last year and the one that we're trying to get this year, is a very simple bill, and it does not mention the word transgender. This is a bill that shouldn't even be a problem to get passed. It does three things. I'm just going to share, and these are things that I had. This is something that actually I wrote up and gave to the sponsor of the bill last year, Senator Al Jackson. I've been working with Senator Adams on it this year. And what does it say? The first thing it says, the term biological sex means the physical condition of being male or female as determined by a person's chromosomes. A male individual with at least one X chromosome and at least one Y chromosome, and a female is an individual with at least one X chromosome and no Y chromosomes, and an individual's anatomy as identified at birth. Okay, so that's the description, so that they can't just say, yeah, because otherwise what's happening, if they don't have this physical description, they're just saying, but I am a boy or I am a girl. So you have to have that in the bill. Then the next part would be every restroom, locker room, and shower room located in a public elementary or secondary school that is designated for students and is accessible by multiple students at the same time shall be designated for and used only by students of the same biological sex. And that seems simple enough. And the same thing applies to showers, to restrooms, and also another part about it talks about when they're traveling. If they're off the school premises for, say, a sports reason or something, these rules still apply. If they go off even to another state that maybe has the different laws that we have. If they're there for the school, like a sports team or choir or something like that, that still applies when they're in the other schools. If they're there, they cannot share these restrooms. And then it also applies to if they're traveling and they're going to be staying in rooms, sleeping together in sleeping rooms. If they're going to be any place in a state of undress, or if they're going to be sleeping over, so that, there's choir trips and debate trips and sport trips and all those kinds of things, so that they go and stay in hotel rooms. The girls, is now, the girls in one room and the boys in other rooms. That's the way it'll stay if we can pass this law. And then the last thing that it says, that if there's any student, remember this doesn't say transgender in here, so if there is any student that is uncomfortable in going into a bathroom that's shared by multiple students, then the school will provide a private bathroom and dressing room and shower for them to use. So all students are being treated exactly the same. We're not targeting transgender students. We're just saying in Utah schools, our boys and girls will not shower together, sleep together, use bathrooms together. Does that sound reasonable to you? Can you go out and talk about this to your friends and neighbors? Yes. Can you insist that this bill gets passed? Can you talk to your legislators and everybody else? Talk to your church leaders. Talk to anybody and everybody you can and say, let's pass this law in Utah. Let's don't do what California is doing or Massachusetts is doing or any of those other states. Let's don't let them say, yeah, but let's wait. The big thing I hear is that, well, there's already some schools out, states out there that are doing this, and there's one in particular that's in the courts right now. And so let's just wait and see what happens. Well, first of all, so what happens? I mean, if they lose their court case, does that mean we don't try? No, it doesn't. It means let's all stand up and fight together. Why aren't we arm in arm, side by side with that state that's fighting right now? Why are we waiting? How much do we, Right, why aren't we leading? That's exactly, and we would be leading if leadership hadn't stopped this from last year. Why aren't we leading? We must lead, and we must start making demands that if you want our children in those schools, then I want it to be an environment that's a moral environment. And if you're going to have boys in the showers with my daughter won't be back there. We've got to stand up. You know what happened if all the parents refused to send their child to school? I can tell you right now, there'd be a fight. I mean, those schools, they'd lose all their money. But we got to do something. My daughters, because 6 of them, would have never been allowed to go into a school where they weren't safe from boys walking into the bathroom and the showers. My 6 sons, have 6 of those too, would not have been allowed to do the same thing either. And now I will fight for my grandchildren. This can't happen, and it won't happen if the people of Utah join together and say no. If you don't, I can guarantee you there'll be no bill this year, and there will not be a bill if anybody loses in the courts, and there will never be a bill until there's been several children violated, maybe hundreds of children violated, till finally somebody either says, it's time we stop this, or they say, oh well, what's the difference? It's already happened. They're getting used to it. You decide what you want to have happen. Okay, I want to thank you all because I'm leaving. We're out of here, off to the granddaughter, who thank goodness was never violated. Huh? There's not a bill number. We don't even have a sponsor yet. Okay, Senator Adams has actually been the one who has sent this ledge research to have them draw up the bill. And he's supposed to be the sponsor, but we don't have a bill yet, even though they've had plenty of time to have it. And every time I ask him about it, he tells me he'll get back to me, but he's supposed to be the sponsor. Kay Christopherson sitting right here today. Kay, I think you need to be the sponsor. Not that I wanted to put him on the spot, but we need a sponsor, and we need a strong sponsor, and we need all of your help. And thank you for coming. This was a very successful day. We've been over 250 people here today. Thank you so much. 250 people. Do you know how much good you can do if every one of you just leave and do something? And if you do 5 or 6 things or 10 things or buy the DVDs, we'll change the world. Thank you very much.